Hello, my name is Jeff McCauley, a student in the finance program with Western Governors University. Thank you for attending this presentation. The topic I will discuss is consumer debt. You were given a handout that contains the relevant data covered in this presentation. For the sake of brevity, we will cover only the main points. Americans in debt generally have four types. These are mortgages, credit cards, car loans, and student loans. Americans are perceived to be living beyond their means, spending like drunken sailors, and then filing bankruptcy when payments become inconvenient. That's the perception. To counter this perception, here are some facts. The fifth graphic located on page 3, only about 6% of respondents reported having any difficulties making payments on their debt. The Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia has published data that agrees with this figure as a national average. On the next page, you'll see that the average number of secured loans remains quite low. These would be typically loans used for homes, cars, or other loans that are collateral-based. While the terms of these loans have substantially changed, mortgages are now 30 years, cars sometimes up to 5, 6, or even 7 years. The reasons for acquiring these loans have not. 70% of all respondents claim they have never considered filing bankruptcy, and 12% say they considered it but avoided it. My translation is that 82% of the respondent group either didn't see the debt as a problem or found a way to resolve it themselves. We've gotten away from living on money, and instead we use credit as a powerful financial tool. We use our money to service our debts, basically. In essence, we're living like the federal government. But overall, I've never found any evidence that Americans who are in debt are there because of irresponsible spending. While there are exceptions to everything, what I found was that those who actually are in debt got there because the pace of wage increases failed to keep up with the consumer price index. 3 years ago, a gallon of milk here in Missouri cost $2.20. Today, that same gallon of milk is $4.28. But the rate of inflation was consistently reported under 4%. When the government calculates core inflation, the figures exclude housing, energy, and food. These three things people need to buy the most. The tendency is to confuse inflation, which is actually monetary growth, as consumer pricing. Inflation has not been bad, but the consumer price index is rising at an unconscionable rate. The average wage increase is not keeping pace with consumer price increases. And needing to survive, the vast majority of those in debt are in debt trying merely to make ends meet. My conclusion, there are in fact people in financial trouble, but they do not represent the majority of Americans or of America's financial health. The subprime mess is a creation of poor decisions made by lenders trying to be too competitive, not by spendaholics out on a shopping spree. Consumer debt is riding high because consumer prices are riding high. I'm confident that the vast majority of those who are in debt will find a way out, probably with the help of the lenders who got them there in the first place. Consumer debt, it is an issue, but it's an issue with an obvious solution. Competition and capitalism are wonderful things, but as we have seen, there is an obvious dark side. I'd like to thank you for your attendance today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question.
Yes, you there, lady in the audience.
You say that savings accounts are becoming a dinosaur, but I see signs advertising rates of 4 to 5% almost everywhere. Is this a sign that traditional savings accounts are making a comeback?
Well, the traditional savings account banner ads that you see, they're what we refer to as introductory rates. These intro rates run for a certain length of time, where they have certain qualifying criteria, such as a $20,000 minimum deposit, which would receive this rate for a period of typically 1 to 3 months, give or take. Then it's back to the 4% or less. And for smaller depositors, it's quite common to see interest rates on savings accounts under 1%. The fact is Americans do save. We have savings plans. Americans have actually gotten very savvy about savings. The money is spread out in a diversity of funds, not just savings accounts, which don't pay anything back, but more importantly, 401 plans, 401k plans, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and even bullion, precious metals. Next question.
You also pointed out that it's only 1.8 million people who are in trouble with their subprime mortgage. Isn't this 1.8 million an awful lot of people to be considered unimportant?
Well, 1.8 million is a lot of people. I agree. But in relationship to the nearly 300 million people who live in the U.S., it's a small number by percentage. My personal feeling that even one person caught in a subprime mess is one person too many. It's avoidable. We all enjoy capitalism and the benefits derived thereof, but competition and our competitive nature does have a darker side, and with individuals usually paying the price. If that's all the questions, thank you for attending.